Hey guys, so if you listened to the video where I was trying to explain the people in my family, my immediate family, you would know that, my mom is kind of, well, she is, a very, she's a playful person. She's kind of in your face. She could be kind of loud sometimes. But I'm going to go more into depth about her personality in this voiceover. So, my mom is a very charismatic person. Initially, when she's first meeting somebody, she generally gets along with everybody. It's usually as time progresses that those relationships that she builds with people fail. And I mean, crumbling down, not good. She's one of those types of people that she'll walk up to anybody, anywhere, and start a conversation with them. She's, very outgoing, very friendly. She comes off as a very nice person to people that don't know her very well. And I think that is part of the reason why I had a hard time growing up knowing how she was at home, or kind of like behind closed doors, versus how she came off to other people, because people would say, "Oh, your mom's so nice, your mom's cool, she's this, she's that." She would be nice to my friends, and I know this sounds like, well, that's every mom. But I mean, as the stories go on in these videos and these voiceovers, I think you'll start to pick up a lot faster on what I'm trying to say and what I'm explaining to you. Now, she, like I said, was very charismatic. She had a lot of friends. She would make a lot of acquaintances. She would have a lot of male friends. And growing up, I didn't really find it odd at first, so I guess when I was younger. But it was like the older I got, the more I realized that these friendships that she was having with these men were inappropriate friendships because she was married. She would leave home and she would go visit men at their homes. It got to the point where she would start inviting men over to the house. And I think when she first started, before she started just inviting men over, like she would invite, like people from the church over, couples over. And it was like she just kind of wanted to be friends with everybody. But then I noticed that couples from the church really stopped coming over. And then like years later, it became like just men. What I've noticed was that it became, it was more so African men. There was African men and there was Jamaican men that she would invite over to the house. And I wasn't with my mom a lot of the times when she was going to see these men. If I was, like I said in the previous video, I would sit in the car and wait. And it just became like an ongoing thing. It got kind of bad. I think it started affecting her marriage, which rightly so. Her husband had a right to be upset. She would bring men over to the house. She would go pick them up from their home and bring them over to our house. And, she was like this great, everybody thought she was just this great cook. She would cook people breakfast. She would braid some of the guy's hair. And my stepdad, he was like, he asked a guy one time that she had brought over to the house. He just straight up asked him, "Are you, screwing my wife?" Just straight up asked him that in the kitchen. And I was sitting there at the table, and I could just hear and see the frustration and, like hurt in his face. And as a child, I was a teenager then. It was just like not really my place to say anything. But I was finally proud of him for saying something, because it was like, this has been going on for a long time. But she would, have me try to cover up for her, and she'd be like, "Oh, well, it took so long because, the streets were flooding. And then she would look at me and say, like, right, right, and want me to, kind of back her up. And it got to the point where I felt bad. I felt like I was a pawn and she was just using me as a cover up to lie for her. But honestly, I had no idea what I was covering up and it didn't feel right. But if I didn't do it, she would get upset. And this went on for years. And I'll talk about, some of the things that I saw with these men, throughout the rest of these voiceover videos. And I think that's why today, like to this day, right now I am single, but I think to this day, it's part of the reason why it's hard for me to be in a relationship. I've never seen a functional relationship before. And that's something that I want so bad. And it's not that I do the same thing that she did, but I just don't. It's almost like it's like a curse or something. Like she just could not be happy with one person. And for me, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like nobody that I've been with has been happy with me. Nobody has made me feel like I'm enough. It's almost like they just kind of use you until they're done and then they're on to the next person. And I feel like because I lacked a lot of love in the home, I sought it out as I got older and started to date. And I would put my all into a relationship to end up with nothing. And with her, I feel like it may have been similar, but I mean, she was married. I've never been married, and I just couldn't ever see myself doing that to my husband, despite whatever excuses she had, which I'll discuss some of those in ongoing videos too, but I just didn't see that it was appropriate. But that was what I was exposed to, and this was like on a regular basis. I mean, it was like weekly, almost daily, to be honest with you. There was months where it was going on every single day. And that was just how she was. And she made it a normal thing, which is completely not normal, and it's very inappropriate for a wife to do. But like I said, I'll discuss that more in more of the videos.